All right, first crack at this. Going to do a live preview of Randwick for Saturday, the 18th of December. Just making sure it's all working. Looks good. Okay, so first race. Sorry, hang on. Let's talk about something else first. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about Randwick race 1. So it's an open 2-year-old. What do we got? We got a 3-metre rail, which is probably the most important thing. Looks like we're going to get a good track, which is another positive. 3 metres normally means pretty fair, but a little bit of an advantage. You can sort of lead and win with a 3-metre rail at Randwick on a good track. So they might get 2 or 3 off in the straight, but you know those in the first 5 or 6 are probably an advantage to those that are going to be coming wide and swooping. Canterbury race 4 running currently. 6 horse field. How exciting. So yeah, up there, probably a little bit of cover ideally, leader behind leader. 1 out, 1 back, and probably the places to be. Okay, first race 2-year-old. I didn't get too excited by these horses. I thought the horse of most interest was a horse called Uncorked. It's certainly not a horse that usually fits my sort of criteria, 900 to 1200 at second start. And I'm just going to share something. Copy, message link. Throw it in the chat. Paste. What does that do? Doesn't look good. Delete message. Do it. Copy this link. That looks better. Oops. Retarded. All right. Thank you, Connor. Yeah, so Uncorked's not normally a horse that I'd find generally 900 to 1200, but this horse looks like it's looking for 2,000 metres already and has had a trial since the 900. So sat outside the lead there at Newcastle and then back to the trial since, sort of fought on, dropped off, came back, fought on, and actually ran a really strong last 200 there. So expecting Uncorked, especially if it finds the front, to be very hard to beat here. The first starters, Man in the Mirror was probably the better of the 2 trialers. What is strange is that I think McDonald trialled its first trial, then Berry's trialled its second trial. Now you get McAvoy on race day, Berry riding another horse, not a stablemate, but similar, Ma instead of Nisham, obviously a close connection there, and J-Mac riding Himalayism, who he also trialled. So interesting to see that. I thought that Man in the Mirror probably trialled a little bit better. Maybe he's just got to be loyal to Waller, which is a big chance. The horse from Melbourne, Jamara, it was okay, but it's just okay. 6-day back up, 1,000 to 1,200 has to come up from Melbourne. I know it's also in down there, I think, or maybe it's been scratched now by the look of this. Couldn't find it. I thought the dangers were Fireburn and Hyde, who came out of the same race at Warwick Farm. So Fireburn's dragged right out the back, and I think Hyde's third the fence. Hyde gets checked by Fireburn in the straight, but this was a slowly run. Actually, it was a fairly solid, normally flat run race, but these horses, it was hard to come from back and wide, I think, at Warwick Farm this day, the 5-metre rail, and Hyde obviously chopped out. I didn't mind the effort of this horse after it was dragged out at the start, and that was probably the key to it. It looks like 1,200 is going to be fine for it as well. Same for Hyde with the winkers on. So they were the 2 main dangers to Uncorked, and the reason why I liked Uncorked. I'll have a quick look at this too. Showed enough speed to sit outside the leader over 900. Which is obviously good going up to 1,200 in a race where there doesn't look a heap of speed. And the reason why I'm forgiving of 900 to 1,200, which I usually think is a quantum leap for 2-year-olds, is that you'll see this horse just completely out-sprinted. And then late, it's building back through its revs. not as if it's storming away from them or anything like that after the line, but I just think leading with another trial under its belt, improved from that effort, this horse will give them plenty to run down. Man in the Mirror, the most scary of the debutantes, and Fireburn and Hyde, the two race runners that look a little bit scary. Race 2, John Williams handicap 1,400 metres class. Is it benchmark 72, 3 and 4 year olds? This race did my head in. I won't spend too much time on it. The horse I actually came up with is Sur Lemur. It's $12 and the roughest of all the Waller runners, which scares the crap out of me. What scares me is if you look at the map, Supremo possibly leads too much to bears a middle distance leader, so would have to press pretty hard. Kobe Rocks could certainly boot up and hold them out if Supremo doesn't stamp urgent, and did just not jump cleanly first up. So a bit of a horse that's hard to get a line on from its early speed. This is the problem. All these horses, back markers, all lightly raced Waller horses, and whoever shows intent's probably going to be in the prime position early. Sur Lemur certainly drawn very awkward for from the outside, and can see it being seen as one of the unlikely runners in the race and dragged out of it. I just thought its last two efforts. So here's its effort at Canterbury. I'll just watch it late. So two important things. At the start, it's jumps with them and dragged out of the race. So it can certainly settle closer than where it does here. And back on the fence, gets to the outside here and really attacks the line late. Obviously not the place to be usually at Canterbury, back and wide. So it can come from back, wide, but it had to circle late. Charges through the line there. That's 12.50, goes to 1,300 at Warwick Farm. Its next start runs into so again, dragged out from a wide draw. Back last defence. Feels around him. Widest and probably in the worst going again here. And Forgivable Run just climbing up over their heels late. I'd love to be fine. I think it's a hard fit horse. I think 1,400 is fine. If it just got one little kick out of the gates, I'd certainly be happy to take $12 Sur Lemur. Look out for any change of tactics from the stable early in the morning. And if there is one to be ridden closer to the speed, certainly jump on it. Away from it, Starman was a great effort. It's the only other horse I'll show a replay of here. What this horse, it wasn't any great race it came out of first up, but it only won public trial, 900 metre trial, went straight to 1,200 here. And that's not easy to do in itself. I know they have a lot of jump outs at Rosehill, so the horse is probably fit of it. Did get used a little bit early, and then you'll see he's definitely keen here and over racing. So for a horse to do that, first up 1,200 metres, and then this horse Sacramoni's a nice horse, getting deep into its first prep. It's in this race as well. Tracks the Starman through. It's hard fit. This horse is not first up. It's done plenty wrong in the race. This horse hasn't. It's shown a nice turn of foot a couple of times. It's basically got this horse beaten cold here, and Starman looks beaten, if anything, and Dead Set picks itself up off the canvas. So first up 1,200 to win like this, and to beat off these two inside runners, hold it, stablemate at bay. I don't think it was ever getting past it. This horse should only improve off that. Probably would have liked another week, but who's to question this stable? It's got another middle draw, but a nicer draw than Sur Lemur. It's actually drawn directly inside it. James McDonald to ride. I'd expect Starman to take a lot of beating in this race. It's certainly a much more straightforward selection than Sur Lemur, who's triple the price, but that doesn't help if it gets dragged out of the race again. The other horses all need a bit of luck. If Kobe Rocks found the front and Supremo didn't push on, then it can certainly run a race at around the, $7.50 mark. I think I've got it marked a little bit longer at this stage, but I expect Supremo to probably cross it. And that's about it. Blackjack's going well. Too much to bears, a bit one pace. Sacred Command I can't have. Supremo's not hopeless if it finds the front either. and I think Sacramoni's probably coming towards the end of its prep. So Sur Le Mur and Starman, the main two for me, clearly in race 2. Race 3 I haven't done. I refuse to do highways until scratchings are over. I'm doing the same with the midway, so we're skipping race 3 and 4. Race 5, another wallet of mine puzzle. Sorry, I did this form a couple of days ago and I've had a long day, so I'm trying to work this out. All right, so this is a race where I've been waiting for Mubaru's, waiting a long time, 6 days, but not the race that I hope to find it in. 7-day backup, third up 2,000 metres. I did run a career best third up 1,800 last time in, but did have an 1,800 lead up to that. And the awkward draw here certainly makes it more difficult. The rider also a bit of a strange one. So ready but for me. Lord Ardmore going really well, looks the leader, and the more likely of that stable to be hardest to beat, I would imagine. Once again, James McDonald, not hard to find their number 1 pick usually. This horse, Wader, really interesting horse. One scary thing, synthetic hoof filler. Apart from that, its first up win was okay. It was a bit of a funky race, but it was a good, strong win for a horse considering its circumstances, and not really from a stable that's known for getting them ready first up at a mile. But when it got to 2,000 last start, it was in a really slowly run race and just absolutely smashed the line. Problem, obviously, this synthetic hoof filler, you don't really know what the story is, but if it repeats its last run, it'll probably win again. Doesn't matter where it sits, it probably sits a bit closer to from 5. It does get its head up, which I hate, but the way it attacked the line last start, you just can't ignore it at all. It did only beat Welsh Legend, who's a bit of one of those horses, but times don't lie. And neither does the footage of this horse getting up the inside and really attacking against a slow tempo. So I would say the 2 main horses to beat here are Lord Ardmore leading and Huetta if everything's fine with its feet. Born a King, I thought had been outsprinted in 2 slow run races, really needs a strong tempo, which it's probably unlikely to get here. So I can't see it turning the tables. And Mubar is the horse up the top that is well set up and could surprise. I just don't know where it gets to from the run. I don't really know why it's in this race. So Lord Ardmore and Huetta, probably Huetta from Lord Ardmore, if you were sure everything was fine with its feet. Race 6, 1,400 metre benchmark 78. What have we got here? Looks tricky. Map not clear cut. Does fashion a low lead. So, okay, the map scares me here. Not really sure whether Exotic Ruby fires across from the outside gate or whether Fashionel kicks up and leads. I doubt Takisakot would want to hold the front, and I doubt Enlighten Me or Nicky's Fling have got the speed to hold the lead or want to lead. So I would imagine there's a good chance either Exotic Ruby Shanghai's to the front or Fashionel kicks up and holds it out. Enlighten Me will try and get that spot across, and so will Nicky's Fling. So there'll be a little bit of pressure there. Takisakot should take a sit. Bitcoin Baby slots into the running line. The rest should take care of itself. So the only horse that probably needs a bit of luck to get a spot should be Enlighten Me. From that position, I think there's a good chance that Exotic Ruby and Fashionel could control the tempo here, and that really could set it up for those up on the speed. So Exotic Ruby, Fashionel with Nicky's Fling and Bitcoin Baby, probably the 2 that are stalking, and I wouldn't be leaving Takisakot out of Exotics at big odds too. Probably will struggle to win. What have we got here? Sunshine Coast. The other horse is going well. That look to get back a little bit. Saigon goes well, but I thought its first up form is far better than its second up form. Watch betting for it. That stable always scares me, but it probably finds a negative position anyway. Arctic Thunder, really good fresh, and a repeat of that. Not far away here, but where does it get to again? And a rider in negative setup's just okay. I think that's a pretty straightforward race. I'm not convinced by Bitcoin Baby yet, so I think Fashionel and Exotic Ruby are set up well to run well there if they control the tempo and don't attack each other early in a pretty average race. Race 7. What's going to say here? What does that do? How do we see the... Why can't we see that? Anyway, race 7, 1600 metres, a race devoid of speed once again. You've got Canasta probably going to try and find the front. I doubt that Navy Cross will punch up and lead it, but either way, I doubt they either carve each other either. Canasta's the horse you want to find, but it was just pretty average last start and really needs to bounce back to show its best here, and it probably wins. The horse that's favourite, Francesco Guardi, nose roll on 5th up. Every possible chance its last couple and found one better. Certainly $1.90 is not appealing at all, but probably is the horse to beat. And Amika, who just needs to jump better, is probably the other one that can improve significantly, but another one that's probably well found around $6.50 for a horse that's got a few question marks over it. But dry is important for Amika. I think it can settle closer if it jumps. 1600 certainly looks positive, and it's probably the horse I'd side with at the price if I had to. The other horse that's down the bottom, 623 days off before this prep, so really probably needed the 3 runs back, is Speed Legend. Attacked the line nicely last start, 1600 metres, certainly looks okay. The gate's horrendous, but if it presses, there is a spot for it if they all press. So if Canesta presses, Navy Cross presses, and then Francesco Guardi presses behind those, I would doubt that any of these horses have the speed to hold any of the rest out. So there could be a spot for Speed Legend to come across. Needs a little bit of luck. What price is it now? Sort of $10. It and Amika are probably the slight value if there is any. Canasta's very close to its right price. And then I think Francesco Guardi's the horse to beat, but I wouldn't take $1.90 in a million years. Pretty weak race. Can't say much more about it, to be honest. Race 8, ACY Securities Handicap. This race is dodgy from not dodgy, but a pace perspective. We've got the 2 Bjorn Baker runners that want to cross, and then you've got Batiga, who's the horse that I would love to know whether it will try and come across with these 2 Baker runners. So it's drawn directly between them. You would expect Big Boy Roy happy to take a sit from the Baker runners. I would be very surprised if Purple Sector's pushing forward there. The problem is there's a number of these runners here who probably want to hold spots. Oscar Zuli maybe not so much, but Love Tap definitely wants to sort of cruise across and grab this spot if it can, and so will Dream Circle. So there could be a little bit of pressure early. Regardless, there's a spot there for Batiga if it comes across with Frosty and Prime Candidate, because you'd imagine they'd show a bit of urgency just to get across the face of the field, and that could set it up nicely for Batiga to slot in. Has had a fairly solid break. 196 days. That trial was really good at Canterbury. Really liked its trial. So expecting a really positive effort from Batiga. Frosty Rocks has trialled really well. Interesting to see they took him away from home. You'd expect that he's getting ready for a race in a few weeks up in the Gold Coast, but can run well fresh here. He just tries his hardest every time he goes around. Oscar Zulu seems big odds for a horse that's primed up quite well from the trials. $19 seems fair enough. Soft draw helps its chances if it's on the ball, and Love Tap always thereabouts. Also gets a nice run, very well set up. Big Boy Roy perfectly placed him behind the leader. Looks short at $3.70. Hasn't won for quite a while, but does get that run stalking the leaders. Second up 14 days since the first up run, and gets nose. What is it? It gets a crossover nose band off. Norton bit on, so a more aggressive bit to try and get him under a little bit more control, maybe. A pretty tricky race just due to the number of queries. First up runners, I think that's certainly not the number it should be. Hang on, what are we doing here? Oh, yeah, no, that's right. So Batiga from Big Boy Roy just by default, and Frosty Rocks for me in race 7. Another race with not much advantage in it price-wise for me. Race 9, general, to handicap, 1,200 metres, benchmark 88, 3-year-olds plus. Oh, goodness, been a long day. Much better. So here again, map's quite important. Much better finds the front. I would imagine it will. And then you've got Bulletin taking a sit. I would imagine it will. The problem is you've got Love Planet, Liberty Sun, Tycoonist, Shadow Crush, Albalaggio Mist, not so much, I don't think. GT, probably not so much. But all these horses want to find positions, so I can see a fair amount of pressure for a fair distance for these to all find their spots, and that may put a little bit more pressure than you would hope for, or much, much better. If that doesn't eventuate, much, much better, just boots out early, sets up a nice tempo. I think it's clearly the horse to beat. Tycoonist gets across from that awkward draw. It's drawn really awkwardly for mine, but it's not unforeseeable that it could just go bang and lob fourth. So much, much better leads. Liberty Sun comes across. Tycoonist cuts behind them. Love Planet sort of wide with Shadow Crush. So it could be the one drawn ideally to lob 1-1. And for that reason, I think it's definitely the main danger. I think they're the clear two hardest to beat here. The closers, so the horses that are going to be strong at the end of the race, are probably GTT coming down from Brisbane. It's got a big weight. It's got 59.5, has got a claim, but a big weight for a Queensland horse coming down to Sydney. But really good strong win there, and does look like a grinder that will appreciate a fast tempo if that's how it eventuates. The other strong horses are probably Starler and Love Planet, but how do you line them up? They're quite one pace, so they'd have to get a really strong tempo, I think, to get into the finish. I think that it's much, much better in Tycoonist to hard to beat here. GTT, the most obvious closer in race 9. Lucky Last. Another race that'll drive you mad. What have we got here? Orbit, one runner is 28 days or more between runs. So every runner in the race, bar one's at least 4 weeks between runs minimum. 9 of them resuming from lengthy spells of 70 days or more. The favourite's off 294-day spell. Blinkers off inside draw. Just the stuff that dreams are made of this race, if you're trying to work it out. Certainly, the Bopper looks the most talented horse in the race. He looks like he's come back trialling well. Hard to knock him, really. You would expect that the close connection the trainer has to the horse, that he wouldn't be bringing it to the races without being ready to go. Really an interesting horse that looks very well placed if everything's on track, but it is a query. There is a horse here at 70-1 that scares me, and that's a horse called Depth That Varies. I've always loved the horse. I don't think it runs 1,200 metres, and the key is it's back to 1,000 metres here. Soft draw, not the jockey you really want, and it's going to give you a heart attack if you have anything on it. It'll probably be last the fence, and who knows where the heck you'll go on it. But if it finds the gaps, it can win at $71. Van Giz looks like it's been taught to really settle in its races, and I think they'll drag it out from the wide draw. If it gets dragged and gets a 3 and 4 wide card up and they overdo it up front, it can be a horse that can be closing hard down the middle of the track, no doubt. Van Giz, what price is it? $19. And Remlat's Gem is a horse that I think's been set for this 46 days since the first up win. Is it a 900-metre horse only? Maybe not, but it was quite strong there the other day, even though it was easier company. This is probably its chance in life to win a nice race in town. Ocean Emperor is the other horse that I entertained. If it's Shanghaied across, so it's drawn the widest. De Groen has blinkers off, which I thought was interesting. If it Shanghai's across, they're not really fast horses inside. And if it Shanghai's across from the outside, I think it can give a sight. Certainly a bit of a one-pace horse that lacks a killer blow, so it needs to be let run from that outside draw. But if they do that, it can run well at odds. What else have we got? There's knockouts. Henschel's a knockout. Fast Coney doesn't like winning. Switched. Leo's very short for mine. Can't understand why it's so short. Fritz's Factor's a knockout first up. It's a race full of scary horses, but I really do think there's good value in Depth That Varies. Ocean Emperor, $26. Depth That Varies, $71. Van Giz, $19. Remlat's Gem, $16. If you're going wide, especially in the quaddie in the last, I think they can all run races, even Henschel at $34. I could throw it in quaddies very happily, and then you maybe have the Bopper one out for something as well. That's a quick look at the meeting. I'll come back in the morning after after scratchings and that are out, and any questions or whatever, fire them through to me. I'll normally take questions with these live previews when I can do them on Friday nights or whenever, but I've had a long day, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I'll post this preview and send it out to everyone as well. Thanks, guys, and good luck for the rest of tonight and tomorrow. Cheers.